The NBA is already off to an interesting start for various reasons, not the least of which is certain teams already rising to the top while others, including top contenders, are struggling to get out of the gates or not living up to their potential. However, another storyline that continues to get everyone talking is that of Ben Simmons, because his battle with the Philadelphia 76ers continues to be a major talking point, and things don't seem to be clearing up anytime soon, especially with his refusal to do certain things. Allow us to show you how the Ben Simmons Sixers saga gets an interesting twist. Mental readiness. The Philadelphia 76ers are increasingly frustrated with Ben Simmons' refusal to accept organizational assistance to address his mental readiness to play, sources told ESPN. While Simmons has been working with the team doctors to treat a back ailment, he's been unwilling to meet with team doctors to discuss his mental readiness, sources said. Instead, sources said Simmons has worked with mental health professionals via the National Basketball Players Association since the summer. So far, Simmons has yet to provide details of those meetings to the team. On a regular basis at the team's Camden, New Jersey practice facility, Simmons has engaged with teammates and members of the coaching staff in one-on-one scenarios, but has not advanced to rejoin full team activities, and it's unclear when or if he will. The Sixers remain eager to help Simmons address his mental readiness so he can return to the team. There's uncertainty whether he's progressing with that same objective. Sources close to Simmons told ESPN they expect to provide the team with updates on his progress once he is comfortable doing so. The Sixers fined Simmons nearly $2 million for missing games, practices, and meetings earlier this season. But sources said the team stopped fining him once he told them on October 22nd that he wasn't mentally ready to play. On one hand, dealing with any mental issue is a must for not just Simmons, but for the team as a whole, as mental illness of any kind is something that needs to be handled with care and tact. That being said, you have to wonder if Simmons is using this as an excuse to not participate in things given all that we've seen him do and not do leading up to now. And that's not the only thing going on here. Rejected trade deals. If the Golden State Warriors pursue a trade for Ben Simmons, they reportedly won't include their top 2 draft picks from the past 2 years. Appearing on the Hoops Hype podcast, Anthony Slater of The Athletic said, "It's hard to see a fit with the Warriors for Simmons because team governor Joe Lacob values Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman and their futures more than other teams do right now." Slater added, Lacob will need a home run type of offer to move Kuminga or Wiseman. Per Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, other executives around the NBA think that Golden State would be a good landing spot for Simmons if the team decides to pursue a trade. Can you imagine him with those shooters out there? And he's playing defense, rebounding and pushing the ball, running, gunning, and finishing? He'd flourish in their style of play, one executive said. Evan Massey of NBAanalysis.net reported last week that Simmons prefers a trade to the Warriors. There's no indication that the Warriors need Simmons to increase their playoff chances this year. They have won 5 of their last 6 games, ranked 3rd in defensive rating, 99.4, and 5th in net rating, plus 7.8 per Basketball Reference. Wiseman, the number 2 pick in 2020, has yet to appear in a game this season after undergoing knee surgery in April. He was cleared to participate in full practice on Monday, but a timetable for his return to games has yet to be determined. Kuminga, the number 7 overall pick in the 2021 draft, and Moses Moody were assigned to Santa Cruz, the Warriors' G League affiliate, on Tuesday. Kuminga only appeared in one of Golden State's first 6 games prior to being moved to the G League. Not to mention, there's another factor here: team cohesion. Ben Simmons has proven a lot over these last few months that if he's not 100% invested in something, he won't participate or give it his all. And while being on the Warriors would get him the closest to a title shot that he's had in his career, that doesn't mean that he'll be motivated or mentally ready should he be traded to them. So for the Warriors, who pride themselves on having a cohesive unit that they can rely on, especially when Klay Thompson comes back, may shy away from Simmons no matter what he may bring to the table. And that's just one of the many trade rejections that the 76ers have been dealing with over the last few weeks. Doc Rivers is also one dealing with the fallout from Simmons and all that it brings. He was one who had a lot to say before the season started, as Simmons was not being who he needed to be in practice and wasn't going to play in their opener as a result. It's a predicament that we're in, and that part is no fun. It really isn't, Rivers said ahead of his team's first game against the New Orleans Pelicans. We get to play right now, and Ben is not. I want Ben to be playing. That's his job. Rivers ejected Simmons from a practice after he refused to participate in a drill, and the team quickly suspended him from the opener. After the announcement, Rivers said his phone lit up with texts of support, but the experience is not something he wants to celebrate. Obviously, you don't want any of those things. You get a lot of texts, great job, and all this stuff, and it's not, Rivers said. I don't think people understand. You want all your players to do well. You cheer for your players. Even when they're in a tough spot, you want it to go well for them. You do. When you're put in positions like Tuesday, it's no fun. Exactly. And that's something that is honestly lost in all of this, because while it may seem like a battle of one player versus a team, the other side of this coin is that of the team in terms of the other players. Because while Ben Simmons is doing his own thing, the other 76ers players are trying their best to win games and live up to the potential and expectations that their city has for them. And they also have to deal with the constant bombardment of questions about Simmons until the situation is resolved in one form or another. That's not exactly fair to them now, is it? The nightmare continues. ESPN insider Adrian Wojnarowski appeared on TV at the beginning of the season to talk about what he called a nightmare scenario for the Sixers and for the NBA right now. Here's what he had to say. They had a good training camp. They had a good spirit about that team without Ben Simmons. But if he's not engaged to play, it doesn't matter how talented he is. It's going to become, I think, more apparent at some point that it's going to be hard to have him around the team if this is going to be his mode of operation. But it certainly complicates trade talks around the league. It complicates Philly's ability to go out and find a deal. They were nowhere near a trade for him. They wanted him to play. They wanted him to honor the contract, and so far, that's not happening in Philadelphia. And thus, the nightmare continues, because things are not getting better. They're only getting worse in their own way. It's impossible to know where this will all go from here, because it's hard to predict what Ben Simmons will do. But we do know what the fan will do. We want Lillard. At a recent game that the 76ers had against the Portland Trail Blazers, the fans of the 76ers did something a bit uncharacteristic. They not only cheered for Damian Lillard when he was announced during game intros, they chanted, "We want Lillard," multiple times during the game. Lillard thanked the fans for their praise, but noted that he was a trailblazer for life, or at least under his own power he wishes to be there for life, so he isn't interested in coming to Philly. But for the fans, this shows that they're tired of what's going on with Simmons, and they want a replacement for him sooner rather than later. And it's hard to blame them for that line of thought at this point. So, what do you think? What do you think of the situation going on with the Ben Simmons saga and how it's not getting any better with the 76ers as a whole? Do you think that eventually this is going to lead to drastic action by the team? What do you think is an appropriate response to all that's been going on? Or do you think the team will finally be able to trade him? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on the channel.